The Government Operations Committee for Monday, April 23rd will come to order. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
Representatives Bolso, Camper, Carr, Chisholm, Clemens, Crawford, Eldridge, Faison, Hakeem, Haynes, Himmer, Kiesling, Kumar, Lafferty, Littleton, Martin, McCalman, Rudder, Vice Chairman Reedy, Chairman Reagan.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members, do we have personal orders? You're recognized for your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a parliamentary inquiry. The Standing House rules provide for my appointment to this committee by the minority leader. And so just in reference to the letter I received, it didn't reference anything from the person who appointed me to this committee.
I have a copy of that letter. My understanding is the Speaker of the House has removed you from the committee. You're welcome to sit at the dais and observe.
But my appointment was from the minority leader.
If you like, we can get a parliamentary ruling on that. Would you like that?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's what I need.
Hang on just a second.
Thank you.
Representative Jones, your inquiry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to welcome some of my constituents and community members who are here today.
Wait a minute, sir. Did you have a parliamentary inquiry?
Oh, no, I thought this was personal orders.
Sir, you have to be on a committee to be recognized for personal orders.
I was on this committee. I didn't get any notification from the House Speaker that I was kicked off the committee. Can you?
I have a copy of the letter right here, sir.
And is the letter signed by the House Speaker?
It's from the Chief Clerk on behalf of the Speaker.
Does it give a reason why I was kicked off as a duly elected representative while I was kicked off this committee?
It says you have been removed from all House standing committees and subcommittees and any committees to which you are served as which you serve as a designee.
Does it give a reason why I am a state representative who represents 78,000 constituents, why my constituents' voice is being silenced? Does it give a reason why I was kicked off this committee?
The Speaker is not required to give a reason. It is his prerogative.
So, Mr. Chair, there's no due process for members who have been unconstitutionally removed from a committee.
Sir, your assertion is incorrect. There is no constitutional right to serve on a committee.
Mr. Chair, can I welcome my constituents who are here to address the crisis of mass shootings in our state?
No, sir, you're not a member of this committee. You're certainly welcome to sit on the dais and observe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is not what democracy looks like.
Sir, this is not a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. Thank you. Are there other personal orders?
This is fascism.
All right, this is a warning. You will be removed from this committee room if you do not maintain the proper decorum, follow procedures. House rules will be observed.
Mr. Chair, were any procedures observed to kick us off this committee again? We were not given notification from the House Speaker. It was signed by the House Clerk, who does not have the authority to kick members off the committee.
You are incorrect, sir. The House Clerk acts at the behest of the Speaker.
Can you read the House rules where the clerk has the power to kick off elected representatives from a committee for standing up for constituents? Can you read that in the House rule, please? Parliamentary inquiry.
Your parliamentary inquiry is not for the chair to resolve. We have the clerk coming in, the parliamentarian. In the meantime, do we have other personal orders? Seeing none, while we're awaiting that visit from the House Clerk's office, item number 1 is roll 2 spaces. Item number 2, House Bill 437. Chairman Sipicki?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second, and it's traveling with an amendment number 6155. This committee needs to take no action since it's been put on by another committee already. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Sponsor, you're recognized for an explanation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is the retention bill intervention process that we've worked on in education. We worked on it with the Senate, with the Department of Education, with Governor Lee's office. There's been many cries from the third grade retention bill And we've been trying to listen to those. Many members have filed bills on retention, and we've worked with taking some of the best ideas and trying to incorporate them into one spot here that we believe will be fair and still maintain the integrity of the bill. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll just go through the sections very quickly, if that's okay.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Members, section 1 has to do with the appeal not the appeal process. The LEAs had a concern with one test being the determining factor. And so we've worked with this, and here's what we've come up with. A student that scores approaching on the TCAP test, only approaching on the TCAP test, if they score in the 50th percentile on the last screener that's given by the state of Tennessee, that's provided by the state of Tennessee, and that screener is administered as a test, if that student scores in the 50th percentile, then they would be deemed for automatic promotion to the 4th grade. A letter would go home to the parents encouraging them to take advantage of the summer school options, the tutoring options, all of those other options that would be afforded to them to make sure that if they are starting to fall behind on 4th grade, they'll have the opportunity to get themselves caught up and or stay on grade level. Section 2 has to do with the appeals process. One of the questions that we had, the Department of Education has an appeals process on the TCAP test down to the 40th percentile on the TCAP test. The problem with the bill we had was it was only the parents could initiate and handle all the paperwork for that appeal process, which was a daunting task because parents don't know how to navigate all the different paperwork that the Department of Education would be requiring. And so we're putting into this bill that allows the school system, once originated by a parent, that they can step in and act on behalf of the parent to help them gather the information to present that appeal to the Department of Education for an appeal. Section 3, we forgot to put reporting data in for those students that are in 3rd grade that are approaching that take advantage of summer school. How many kids are in summer school? How did they do? How many children were promoted to the next grade level and had tutors? How did they do in the next grade level? Giving us data to make sure that we're seeing the results that we want for these children and these students when they move on to 4th grade. Or a student that was retained. Were they given a tutor on hand to help them the next year to get them on grade level? How did they do that following year? So section 3 is about reporting data. Section 4 was a part in the retention bill that we thought we needed to address. And what this said was, if a student is approaching in 3rd grade on the TCAP test, they can move on to the 4th grade as long as they either go to summer school, retest, or take a tutor in 4th grade. We had a student that was below on the TCAP test in 3rd grade, that if they were below, they could go to summer school, have to take a retest, and have to take a tutor and show improvement to move on to 4th grade. But what we forgot to put in there is, what if a student was retained? What was going to be different about that retention year? And so in section 4, what it talks about is that student who's retained in K through 3 must be given a tutor for the following year so they can have somebody to help mitigate their shortcomings and get them up to grade level so that when they go to the next grade level, they would be on track. The bill we passed a little bit ago with Chairman Haston, I believe it's House Bill, I think it's House Bill 68, that was the funding source to pay for the tutors. So all these tutors in summer school are going to be funded by the state of Tennessee, no cost to the locals at all. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill does, and we're asking for your support to move this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, Representative Chairman. Section 2 you spoke of. Is it an option for the school system to assist, or is that a requirement? That assist the parent in preparing the appeal?
No, sir, it is not an option. The school system will, once the appeal process has been generated by the parents, then the schools can step in and help them do all the paperwork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kumar, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing this bill. It's been long overdue and really needed for improving education. My only concern has been it should have been called the 3rd Grade Retention Prevention Act, rather than third grade retention. Also, the question is, so we are going to have mandatory tutoring, and we are going to ask the LEAs to do so. I'm sure funding is provided, but are there mechanisms to make sure that they do so?
You're recognized.
Yes, they are. In Section 4 of the bill, the Department of Education recognized that we may need more tutors. So what they're doing is in Section 4, F2, it talks about the department may procure up to 3 online tutoring services to make sure that these kids are getting the help, not only possibly in school, but at home also. And therefore, if they get the tutoring at home also, maybe we bring the parents involved with that educational process too.
Follow up, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So those are contracted services.
You're recognized.
Yes, sir, and they will go through the procurement process.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you will allow me, I've got about 2 or 3 questions.
Please go. Please continue.
Mr. Sponsor, I just want to make sure the tutoring and stuff that you're talking about, the state has provided the funding for that. It's no cost away from the child or the parent.
You're recognized.
Not only the tutoring, but also the summer school.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up.
Yes, sir. The superintendents, were they involved in putting this together as far as do you feel like that for the most part, they're satisfied with what we have to
You're
vote on here today?
You're recognized.
That's a great question. When we presented this bill through all the education committees, it's been unanimous support.
Okay, thank
Follow
you.
up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair will exercise privilege at this point. Mr. Sponsor, I believe that the testing company, Pearson, gave testimony in front of the committee on the validity of the test. Can you go into some detail on that, please?
On the TCAP test, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
If that's what you want me to do. Yes, sir. Members, we had testimony in the Education Instruction Full Committee from Pearson, the testing vendor. And there's been a lot of questions at the local level about our test was unfair. It was too hard for our students. It asked grade level inappropriate questions. And so we brought the testing vendor in. Pearson is one of the largest testing vendors in the world. So far, they've had no problems with the administration of our tests since they've come on board. But what we found out was very interesting is Pearson doesn't create the test. Our own teachers create the test. The teachers of Tennessee are the ones that have the say in what questions are asked, how many questions are asked, what subjects they're asking on, what topics they're asking on. And then when the vendor gets all those responses back, then they promulgate a test. And when that test is complete, they once again bring in Tennessee teachers to go through the process one more time to make sure that, hey, this question, we don't like the way it's answered, and they can kick it out. So Tennessee is all over this test, as it should be, that these are our students that we're testing, and our test should be somewhat unique to Tennessee instead of just a boilerplate from other states. And so we felt very confident moving forward that a lot of those processes and problems that were being disseminated at the local level about our test was pretty much put to bed by Pearson saying, this is a Tennessee test created by Tennesseans. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Other questions? At this point in time, the committee will take a brief recess for 2 minutes. The House Government Operations Committee is back in session. The parliamentary inquiry that was raised, we have consulted with the House Clerk. The chair chooses to go with the clerk's interpretation. And the two members that were mentioned earlier are welcome to sit on the dais and observe, but not participate. The chair will now recognize the minority caucus chair. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I wish to state my formal objection to that ruling, and the reason being is that there are two particular classes of individuals that serve on the Government Operations Committee. One are appointees of the Speaker, and the others are those positions that are on this committee by express rule. Express rule of the House guarantees the minority leader or her designee a seat on this committee. Therefore, it is my position and objection that the Speaker cannot then leapfrog from his appointees to the seat that's guaranteed by rule and remove that person. Only the minority leader would have the power or jurisdiction under the rules expressly to remove her own designee. Thank you for the opportunity to state that objection, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
point
Your
of order.
objection is noted, and you will be advised that you can appeal the ruling of this chair at a later date. You're not recognized, ma'am. You may observe from the dais. Again,
The standing house rules do not allow for my.
you're not recognized. You have been warned. The chair will order the committee room cleared if we cannot maintain order. The chair has made a ruling after consultation with the House Clerk's office. That ruling has been objected to. The path for that to go forward is for the minority chair, caucus chair, to appeal that ruling through the proper channels.
Can you cite the rule?
I'm sorry?
Can you cite the rule, please?
No.
You work for us.
One more time. If order's not maintained in here, the chair will have this room cleared.
Mr. Chair, order is not being followed. The process is not being
I said-
followed.
You are not recognized, sir.
That's my representative. I recognize him.
This is not a democracy. This is a very sad day for Tennessee.
We're here to serve democracy. Then let our
The committee stands in 1 minute recess. Madam, if you wish to have this room cleared, you may continue talking. If you wish to go outside in the hallway and watch on the monitors, you may do that. If you are invited to do that. Otherwise, you may leave. Government Operations Committee is back in session. Mr. Sponsor, sorry for the interruption. Do you have any closing comments?
Not a chance, Mr. Chairman.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill before us. It has a motion for a positive recommendation and a second. Any discussion on the motion? The question's been called. We are voting on sending House Bill 437 to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman of the Committee.
And members, we will now go back to item number 1 on the calendar. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 27. Leader Lambeth, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. There were some young folks that were in here earlier that are obviously here very, very passionate about one issue. And one of them asked me what my bill did as I was waiting through what this committee very expertly navigated through. And thank you for doing so. I explained that this bill says that if a person who is in college gets done in 3 years, that they can keep their 4th year of Hope Scholarship benefits. And the young person that was sitting right there said, well, that's a great idea. I said, well, that's what I'm waiting to hopefully tell this committee about. So I know we've got a lot of very important issues to deal with today. I applaud you as a committee for being able to deal with a multitude of issues all at the same time. That's part of the legislative process. It doesn't make any one of them any more or less important than the others. But for my constituents, I've tried for 3 years to get this bill passed. And I do think it would help young people to get through their collegiate education quicker and give them an incentive for those that work hard to be able to keep that 4th year of Hope Scholarship benefit for a graduate school in Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Members, for the record, this bill is traveling with 2 amendments, 4053 and 4114. Is that correct, Mr. Sponsor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
No action is required in this committee on the amendments. Do we have questions of the sponsor? The question has been called. Any objections to the question? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 27 to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I appreciate your service.
Item number 3, House Bill 514 by Chairman Terry. Do I hear a motion? We have a motion and a second for a positive recommendation. Members, this is traveling with an amendment 4624. Is that correct, Mr. Sponsor?
I believe it's 4642.
I'm sorry, 4642. Thank you.
Yes.
And that does rewrite the bill. You want to explain to the committee your bill as amended. No action is required on that amendment in this committee, but we would like to have it explained.
All right. Thank you, Chairman of the Committee. As you guys know, there is a cannabis commission and it has 9 members on it, and the governor, lieutenant governor, and the speaker all appoint 3. The governor's 3 appointees he's due to reappoint or to appoint some this summer. And this bill simply states that one of those members has to be somebody with a qualifying medical condition.
Members, you've heard an explanation. Do we have questions of the sponsor? Representative McCallum, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, what would qualify as a medical condition?
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Great question. So when we passed this a few years ago, we had 9 qualifying conditions, and they'd have to get a letter of attestation from their doctor. Alzheimer's, ALS, cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, epilepsy, MS, Parkinson's, HIV, or sickle cell.
Follow up, sir.
No, sir. Thank you.
Other questions of the sponsor? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. We are voting on sending House Bill 514 to Calendar and Rules. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Bill moves to Calendar and Rules with a positive recommendation. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Sponsor. Members, next up is item number 4, House Bill 885 by Chairman Hawk, traveling with Amendment 6456. We have a motion and a second for a positive recommendation. Mr. Sponsor, you are recognized, and the amendment is on the bill, so we don't need to add it in this committee. Please go forward with your explanation.
Thank you, Chairman and members. House Bill 885 deals with prior authorization for medical procedures as needing approval by insurers. This is a work in progress that has taken several years to culminate into this product that you've seen. Both our insurance providers and our medical providers have come to the table and have found a piece of legislation that they all can live with. Essentially, it has 7 steps to it. It requires clinical criteria that prior authorizations are judged according to be consistent with current national medical standards. The bill also sets forth that there are timeframes for which prior authorizations must be decided upon, including non-urgent decisions must be decided within 17 days. Urgent care decisions must be decided upon within 72 hours, plus 1 business day. The bill as amended will only apply to prescription drugs if prescribed for chronic conditions. As for chronic conditions, all prior authorizations will last for 6 months unless the clinical criteria for that treatment states otherwise. Prior authorizations may be required for inpatient services for both medical and behavioral health. Any changes to prior authorization standards must be updated 60 days before the new standards go into place. And it requires the insurance company that provides a prior authorization may not refuse to pay for healthcare service at a later date unless the person is not covered or fraud was involved in the time of service. Once again, this has been a work in progress for quite some time, and happy to bring this product to this committee, Chairman and members.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill. Questions? Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this bill, sponsor. Is there any timeline guaranteed in here with regards to prior authorization? That an authorization must be made before someone can receive a treatment or service?
You recognize, sir?
I'll restate item number 2. Non-urgent decisions must be decided within 17 days. Urgent care decisions must be decided within 72 hours plus a business day.
You're recognized for follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As being someone who has experienced pain associated with having to wait an enormous amount of time for authorization and that not even coming close to what others have suffered, I appreciate the time frame here.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second for a positive recommendation on House Bill 885 to go to calendar and rules. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and members.
Next on the agenda, item number 5, House Bill 766. Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll get a second chance to rule somebody out of order today. But I just noticed we had one of our state election commissioners come in. Chairman Yance, will you please stand and let us recognize you?
Let's give him a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You are indeed out of order. Item number 5, House Bill 766, is Chairman Holtzclaw available? You recognize Chairman Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm carrying this for him today. He couldn't make it, so I'm going to be carrying
All
this
right, you
bill.
are recognized on House Bill 766, traveling with Amendment 6033. We have a motion for a positive recommendation and a second. No action is required in this committee on the amendment. Please proceed with the explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This established that whenever 3 light traffic control signals are used displaying successively green, yellow, and red lights for the direction of motorists and pedestrians, the duration of the yellow plus all red change intervals must be determined using engineer practices.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill as is before us. Do we have, by the way, it's with the amendment, do we have any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 766 to calendar and rules. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves
Thank
out
you,
to
Mr.
calendar
Chairman.
and rules. Next on the agenda, okay. We have House Bill 1218, also by Holtzclaw, but also being run by Chairman Kumar. 1281, I'm sorry. Thank you. House Bill 1281. Chairman Kumar, you are recognized. It is showing no amendments. You're recognized for an explanation, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, there are no amendments. It's in the original form. This is a family medicine student loan repayment grant program to incentivize physicians in residency training to provide medical services in healthcare needy areas. These eligibility requires that these students have graduated from medical school. They are actively enrolled in a Tennessee Family Medicine residency program. They apply to the Tennessee Departments of Health for a grant during their family medicine residency training and enter into a contract with the Health Department to provide services in medically needed areas for 5 years, for which they will receive a compensation of $40,000 towards repayment of their student loans. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Representative Hakeem, you're recognized for a question. Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other questions of the sponsor? Question's been called without objection. We are voting on sending House Bill 1281 to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means. Item number 7, House Bill 1336 is rolled 1 week at the sponsor's request. Item number 8, House Bill 1077 by Chairman Faison. We have a motion and a second. I show no amendments on your bill, sir.
No,
Or,
sir.
wait, I take that back. I do show an amendment. Traveling amendment with
traveling with
5042. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Okay, thank you. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, there is a way right now, if you, at a farmer's market, for you to be able to sample food. But every time you do it, you have to go through and get a permit. This is a bill that would, by Representative Thompson, that I found early on this year that I thought was absolutely a wonderful idea. Agreed with him and asked him to allow me to sign on. It would basically allow just a permit process. You go through a class by defining the farmer's market food unit. A permit is created for a farmer who is qualified, can complete a pre-operational inspection, pay an annual $300 license fee. With that permit, they'd be allowed to prepare and sample food at the farmers markets instead of every time that they set up, they would have to apply for a permit. This just allows a yearly thing. And felt like this is good government right here.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Do we have questions of the sponsor other than a comment on good bill? You're recognized, Leader Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was just curious as to whether or not this allows samples of microbrewed products. And if not, that's my only objection.
You're recognized, sir.
Question on the bill.
Okay. The question has been called. Any objection? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 1077 as amended to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means. Next on our agenda, item number 9, House Bill 981 by Chairman Faison, traveling with Amendment 4780. Is that correct, sir? Motion on the bill. Second. Is the amendment correct, sir? We have a motion and a second from someone other than the sponsor, and the amendment 4780 is correct. Is that so?
That's the amendment I have.
All right, it's traveling with it. No action required in this committee. You're recognized for an explanation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, those of y'all who served on government operations for any period of time are aware of all the boards and commissions that we have. We have several hundred boards and commissions. At various and sundry times, whether it's Democrat-led legislature or Republican-led legislature, there are boards and commissions that get sideways with the legislature. It has been a common practice often to vacate the board and reconstitute the board. This bill comes on the heels of last year, the EMS board having issues with some of the legislature. So we went to work, garnered support from every end of the state to the other, with all the major players on board that deal with EMS regularly in your district and my district. They have all corporately agreed that this is the best move forward. If this bill did not move forward at July 1, 2023, the EMS board would cease to exist because they are in what you call wind down. This will reconstitute the board, and we have the support of all the EMS people in your district. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill as amended. Do we have questions of the sponsor?
Question on the bill.
Thank you. The question has been called. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 981 to calendar and rules. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to calendar and rules. Item number 10 on our agenda, House Bill 1311 by Chairman Kumar. Members, it's traveling with Amendment 5967, but we have an untimely filed amendment, 6788. Do I hear a motion to put the untimely amendment on the bill? Motion to consider. As we have it, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to consider the amendment. Mr. Sponsor, you want to explain the amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for considering this. House Bill 1311 is the Graduate Physicians Act. Physicians who have graduated from medical school and passed their level 1 and level 2 licensing exam, the next step is to apply for residency. And that residency is a computerized match. And during that matching process, certain of these graduates do not match with the institution that they had hoped to match with in the specialty that they had wanted. So, and the incidence is about 10%. In Tennessee, in 2021, 664 of these graduates from medical school did complete that part, and 66 did not match. So the next day there is a scramble trying to find a residency, but usually residency in specialties is not available to these. So these people are in purgatory or limbo for a year or two, trying to rematch again. This bill creates a collaborative program under which these graduates of medical schools can serve in medically needed areas under supervision of a board-certified physician for a period of 2 years until they complete the matching. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Members, we are on the amendment. Any questions for the sponsor on the amendment? Chairman Lafferty, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I know the answer, but this in no way takes the place of their residency training, right? This is just a kind of a holding place until they can get into residency.
You recognize, sir?
Yes, that is true, sir.
Any other questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we are voting to add the amendment to the bill. That's amendment number 6788. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The amendment is on the bill, and members, the amendment rewrote the bill, so now we're going to vote on the bill without objection. Everybody in favor of sending House Bill 1311 to Finance, Ways and Means indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Members, we're on item number 11, House Bill 394 by Vice Chairman Reedy. Vice Chairman Reedy, you're traveling with an amendment on this one, 6157. Is that correct, sir?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Chair will accept a motion for positive recommendation. You got it. We have it. And a second. We have a second. Mr. Sponsor, you're recognized on your bill.
For
as amended.
brevity's sake, Mr. Chairman, this bill, of course, it come out of the Ag Committee. It will be known as the Tennessee Meat and Meat Products Act. The reason it is here in front of government operations, it's giving rulemaking authority to the Department of Agriculture and the commissioner thereof. What it's allowing him and his department to do is to hire administrator and assistant administrator. Currently, there's 29 other states that allow for in-state meat inspections, where most of the time you will hear about USDA doing meat inspections for interstate sale, but this is just for intrastate, and would allow the state to do its own inspections. But however, we've got the state of Arkansas helping us. Oregon helped them in trying to accomplish this, and of course, leading up to now 29 states. But what we found through a Zoom call was that it would be at least 12 months working with the USDA in an 8-step process to finally get us to a point where there's a probationary period thereof, just showing that Tennessee is sincerely interested in doing its own meat inspections in state. Thus, it requires the funding there that brings us to this point in time that we need to allow that authority to be taken place by the Department of Agriculture Commissioner.
Members, you've heard an explanation by the sponsor of the bill as amended. Do we have any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none. Hang on, we do have a question here. Mr. Chairman, an issue has just been observed. Your amendment rewrites the bill but doesn't put an effective date on it. Is that correct?
That's a good question that it has not come up until now. So it does, and for those listening and those on the committee, it's when the bill passes, it'll go into effect immediately, or we set a July 1st date on it, and apparently that important item is missing.
Okay, we've just found it apparently.
Oh, okay. It's in the fine print.
So we do have an effective date.
Okay.
All right, that
Thanks for that
resolves. Any other
clarification.
questions on the bill? That said, any objection to voting on sending House Bill 394 to Finance, Ways and Means? All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, moves out to House Bill 394, moves out to Finance, Ways and Means. Thank you. Anything else, right? Members, that concludes this committee's business for the day. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved and undebatable. We are adjourned.